It's a Guy Jeans podcast.
Hey, you guys, welcome to the podcast. My guest today is from Fishhound Expeditions in Alaska, Adam Cuthriell. And Adam is the entrepreneur of the business up there, and he does all kinds of cool trips, heli fishing. They'll take you into some great rivers and valleys and stuff like that to go heli fishing. He also does expedition trips where they'll float for multi-days. They'll go to Kodiak to fish for steelhead, and they do ice fishing. He's an interesting guy. He's got about 10 guides that work for him, and they have a really great operation going on up there. In this podcast, I talked to him about all those things, the heli fishing, the steelhead and Kodiak, the bears, all that good stuff. It's a great podcast. He's a great guy, and I hope you guys enjoy this one. This is a good one. Without further ado, here's Adam Cuthriell. Adam, how you doing?
All doing good, man. Just another beautiful day up here in AK.
Is that where you're at?
Yeah, oh yeah. AK is home year round, man. We love it here. You know, that's one thing that I think helps separate our guide service is the majority of us, you know, call Alaska home year round. So it really keeps us in touch with what's going on with, you know, the snow, the rivers, the rain, the wind, everything that goes up here.
What's it like right now there?
It's still very winter time. Things are finally starting to warm up a little bit, but we've had a super snowy winter. We've had close to 700 inches of snow. Been great snow machining, great snowboarding. Yeah, it's been a great winter. But yeah, we've just kind of started to get above freezing these last few days, and it could be real spring or it could be fake spring. We generally up here will get a couple teases of spring, and then winter comes back and holds on to her grip. But I think it could be real spring actually, but we'll see.
So you're in Kodiak, right? Is that what it's called? Kodiak Island? Or?
No, our steelhead program is out on Kodiak Island.
Oh, okay.
But during the wintertime, my family and I, we live a little south of Anchorage in a little ski town named Girdwood. Ah,
okay, cool.
Yeah.
So you live there, and then you move to the lodge in the fishing season. So.
Well, we have we're a guide service. We don't have a lodge. All of our trips are remote, multi-day floats.
Oh, okay.
But during the summer, we live north of Anchorage in a little town named Willow, which is located on the park's highway river systems. We got 4 acres where myself and all the guides live right on the river, where we primarily do a lot of our day trips. But the reason why we live in Girdwood in the wintertime is in a former life I snowboarded professionally, and snow is still a very big part of my life. My daughter, she's been snowboarding since she was 15 months old. She's 3.5 now, so yeah.
So we're going to get into your biz and all that stuff, but let's go back to where you were when you were in Colorado and you started fly fishing when you were young, and how that took off. Yeah,
definitely, man. Yeah, grew up Colorado, beautiful place. Too many people now these days, but a beautiful place. And yeah, my family and I, we just grew up outside, you know, like most folks. Started, you know, spin casting as a kid, and just would see people out fly fishing on rivers, and it just intrigued me. And when I was 14, I had one of my best friends, actually, his dad was into fly fishing and asked if I wanted to go. So I said, heck yeah. And went to Walmart, bought a $17 Wright & McGill fiberglass rod, and we went out up on a little tributary up high up on the frying pan, and just my buddy was like, "Here, do this," and just gave me a rod and walked off. And so there I was, just in the middle of the little creek trying to figure it out, and managed to catch a little brown, and that was it, man. I was hooked, you know, as the cliche goes, and was fortunate enough to grow up within bike riding distance of the South Platte. So, I mean, I remember me and my buddies, we'd ditch school and go fish, and it just has had been a huge part of my life ever since. And just, wherever I went, I always had a fly rod and just would always do it. And it really I fished a ton through high school and where I was first going to college in northern Colorado. And I was going to be a god awful lawyer. I was going to be a water law lawyer. But I just realized that kind of wasn't what I wanted to do. And in my head, I made up, made up this degree called Outdoor Recreation Leadership. And I found a school in Colorado called Colorado Mountain College. And I withdrew from UNC and enrolled into Colorado Mountain College. And I remember calling my folks like, hey, Mom, Dad, just want to let you know I withdrew from UNC. I transferred into Colorado Mountain College. I'm going to be a fishing guide. And it was just
how'd that go
dead
over?
Silence. Yeah, it was just dead silence on the line. And my mom's like, you did what? My dad goes, you just want to live in the mountains. I was like, well, that's kind of true. But it was great, man. It was a really good college experience. Really helped me first get a job when I started guiding when I was like 19, 20. Started guiding in the Summit County area on the Blue River, Colorado River, Arkansas, South Platte, all those kind of more famous tailwaters in Colorado, and loved it. Kind of got tired of all the people and fish who could count and tailwater fisheries. So I moved to the western slope of Colorado and was guiding in the Black Canyon of the Gunnison for a bunch of years. But the dream of Alaska from when I was 14, my buddies and I, when we started fishing, it was always kind of our dream to have an outfitting to be a guides in Alaska. And when I was 30 years old, I was like, man, if I don't do this now, I'm probably not going to. So me and some buddies, we drove up, and I was here in AK all of about 2 seconds and realized I was never going back. Thought this was home.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So when you were guiding all around that, like the Frying Pan, the Arkansas, the Blue, and then like decided basically, hey, I'm going to head over to the Black Canyon of the Gunnison. Did you float that and guide that? Is that what you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. That's where we started doing. That's where I started doing, multi-day trips, professionally, not just for fun, but guiding down there with Black Canyon anglers. It was a phenomenal experience. Great place.
So when you arrived in Alaska, what was it like? Did you just like go, oh my gosh, this is it, and I'm going to be here for the rest of my life kind of a vibe?
100%, man.
Yeah.
I mean, forget the author, but he said young men should not visit Alaska, for that is the bar that all things will be held to. It's the truth, man. Like just coming here and just all the mountains and snow and rivers and just lack of humanity. I was just like, I'm never going back. One of my good buddies who I guided with in the Black Canyon, he was an older guy, and he's like, you're not coming back, man. He's like, I've been there. But knowing you, like, you're not coming back. I was like, no, I'll be back. My family's here. I love Colorado. No, he was right. Just the vastness of the place and all the rivers and lots of snow. It's a good place. For those who haven't checked it out, you should definitely come see it.
When you started Fishhound Expeditions, how did that go down? Did you say, okay, I'm going to just start guiding up here? Was that a big process? And because that's a big jump, man, just like moving from Colorado up there and just starting your biz, right?
Yeah, well, I guided a little bit up here before starting my biz. Yeah, was working for another outfit, and the gentleman who I guided for was like, hey, you should buy my business. And I was like, okay, that's kind of random. I just started for you, and you're telling me I should buy your business. But I was like, okay, we could entertain that, but like in order to do that, you're going to need to give me profit loss reports, because the money he was asking, being a dirtbag fishing guide, I didn't have that money in my bank account, and he was kind of had some issues with alcohol, and was not the most forthcoming with actual paperwork to go to a bank to get a loan. I was like, well, this isn't going to happen. And I was also a firefighter for the little department here in Girdwood, and was considering transferring to AFD, Anchorage Fire. But I got a bunch of buddies, and they're like, man, I don't know, man. It's a good life, but I don't know. And then with my wife's encouragement, she said, just start your own business. You don't need to buy that crap. Just start your own. And
nice.
So it started with me and a raft, and, just got the permits and just started doing day trips up north. And then the business grew, and hired a guide. And now I have 10 guides, way too many boats, and four locations.
It's awesome, man. I love it. That's so cool. How'd you come up with this name, Fishhound? Is it because you're a dog lover?
It is.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's actually named after my hound dog, who's sadly not with us anymore. But when I was
Yeah.
trying to think of the name, my hound dog walks in and kind of looks at me like, "Duh, dude, Fishhound." And I was like, "Oh, Fishhound Expeditions." And yeah, the dog on our logo is our hound dog. 'Cause
Oh,
it was always known where we were on the river, because he was 110-pound blue tick bloodhound, and he had the big bay and
oh yeah.
oh, there's Adam and Fishhound.
Uh-huh.
And so yeah, that's how we came up with the business. But we are dog lovers. The majority of my guides have dogs, and on
Uh-huh.
our day trips, the dogs come. I built most of the frames for our boats myself, and I did that so that there's a spot for the dogs to sit on the boat and be comfortable with
Nice.
the humans who come fish with us.
I love it, man. Do they help like with some like the bear situations too, probably?
They do,
Yeah.
man. They really do. I mean, my current dog, he's a little boxer pit bull. He's not little. He's a little chunk. He's 90 pounds, but he's real good.
Awesome.
Real good with bears and moose. And our head guide, his dog, Little Bear, real good they do help. They do help.
That's awesome. So you have all kinds of trips that you do. Looks like you have heli fishing,
Yep.
expedition trips, Kodiak, steelhead, ice fishing. Let's start with the heli fishing. What's that all about?
Oh man, helicopters are so cool. They're incredible machines, man. I mean, fixed wing aircraft is a lot of fun, but the helicopter, the access that they can give you, and they don't need a landing strip to land. We can land on little 10-foot gravel bars. I mean, shoot, we've landed in the water multiple times with a heli.
Really?
They just really provide, yeah. Yep, landing right in 2 feet of water. Alaska, it rains a lot. And the rivers swell with the rain because everything's freestone. There's no tailwaters here, and
Uh-huh.
sometimes in the water it gets high, and it's a foot on the gravel bar, and that's where we need to land. That's where we can land.
Uh-huh.
And we use the heli for single day trips. We'll do fly in, float out trips, fly in, fly out trips. So we got lots of access with the heli, and they're just able to land in areas where fixed wing aircraft can't go. So it just kind of opens up a lot of stuff. And
Wow.
honestly, from a business aspect, anytime you involve planes or helicopters, the prices of the trips do
Sure.
go up. But we utilize a helicopter in the R44, and they're reasonable to operate. So a lot of folks who, from a business standpoint, they're like, oh, that trip's way too expensive, involving the planes, because beavers, they're kind of the workhorse of Alaskan aircraft. But
Yeah.
a lot goes into those, where the R44s are newer aircraft. And a lot of people are surprised at how affordable some of the trips that we have are because of the helicopter, actually.
How many people can you fit in the helicopter to go fishing?
We do 4 and,
Okay.
and the pilot, yeah.
So you and 2 people, basically? Or
3
guide?
people. The pilot and 3 people.
Pilot
Yeah.
and 3 people. Okay. Copy that. And then if there's multiple people, then he's got to do another trip back and forth type
Yep.
of thing.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
the way we use, we've been working with a great air service out of Talkeetna named Talkeetna Air Taxi. Shout out to Paul and his gang. But they
Nice.
they put baskets on the side where
I
the
saw
skids
that.
are.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, they custom built this platform where we can put coolers, dry boxes. It's amazing how much stuff you can put into those birds. It's incredible.
I saw that on your website. I think I was reading somewhere. Like, no one over 300 pounds anymore or something,
Yeah. So it's funny, man. We kind of found that one out the hard way, but the FAA has a regulation for the seatbelts for those helicopters, and even though the helicopter can easily carry that and more, but we found out there's a weight limit for the seatbelts from the FAA.
When you guys are going in on the helicopter, what fish are you fishing for?
Leopard, rainbow trout, Arctic grayling, dolly varden, and then all 5 species of Pacific salmon.
Oh, okay. It just depends on the season too, like when they're in.
Yeah, so our resident species are the leopard bows, Dolly Varden, and Arctic grayling.
Uh-huh.
Now, how we fish for those three species kind of varies throughout the season.
Uh-huh.
And then kings are the first salmon to arrive. They generally arrive early June, run through the first part of July.
Nice.
Right on their fins are the sockeye. They're kind of early, mid-July. And then right behind them, we got the pinks and chum salmon, and then the silvers, aka coho, are the last salmon to arrive, and they show up the first part of August and run through that.
Okay.
So yeah, lots good variety and stuff to fish for here.
What's the flies that you're using for those guys mostly? Are they egg patterns or flesh or
for the trout or for the salmon?
For the salmon.
For the salmon, it's kind of like streamer fishing, trout fishing in the lower 48. Yeah, we're throwing big bright streamers, or we're swinging. A lot of folks, myself included, love throwing two-handed rods, whether it be a true spay or switch rods, and just swinging. Old school, casting down and across, step down, and across, step down is a fun way to fish. But then streamers, just cast into the banks and moving that fly as fast as you can. We fish a lot of a fly up here and in the Dalai Lama, which is a big articulated streamer. Yeah, great
pink
pattern.
And purple, maybe, is it? Or?
Pink and purple, pink and white.
Okay.
Yeah, everyone, every guide, every angler's got their own colorway preference. I personally like pink and white. Just the bright and white combination just creates a good profile, and the fly with that cone head. Yeah. All about vertical movement. That cone head drops down and then you strip it and it comes back up as a very effective fly.
Do you find that the salmon, like the different species of salmon, like different colors, or will they all eat that Dalai Lama, or different colors?
Everything that swims in Alaska will eat a Dalai Lama.
So Dalai Lama it is.
Yeah, Dalai Lama it is. For a long time up here, the egg sucking leech was kind of the go-to Alaska fly, and I would say now that it's when the ESL, the lawyer fly as we like to call it, is a great pattern, but that Dalai Lama, just with the articulation, is kind of the new gold standard, and also it's a very effective fly. But by having that articulated hook, it greatly reduces fish mortality, because you're getting them on the outside of the mouth as opposed to down in the gill. So if you're not harvesting fish, we're a big fan of articulated flies, and that's the same even for like the mouse flies that we use up here for our trout. Is we don't fish single shank hooks because it can kill the fish, and we look after our resource, and having that those articulated patterns, both subsurface and on the surface, greatly helps hookups, and it also greatly reduces fish mortality, which is a big deal for us.
What about the trout? Are they in there? They're in there with the salmon. Are they eating the eggs? And so you're using egg patterns for, how's that work?
Yeah, so our trout up here, they're meat eaters, man. It's funny, when I first moved up here, I went to a great local fly shop in Anchorage named Mossy's, and just kind of looking around. I was like, hey man, what size tippets, bugs should I be throwing? And Mike just kind of smiles. He's like, you're new here, huh? I was like, yup. And he says to me, same thing. He's like, man, our trout really don't eat bugs. They want meat. So we're fishing a lot of, patterns that imitate the meat, whether that be the shrews and voles that our trout are eating. We have a lot of lampreys up here in our rivers in Alaska, and that Dalai Lama imitates lampreys very well. Lots of sculpin, other bait fish, the salmon smolt that migrate out. And then, once the salmon start their spawn process, we fish a lot of, we don't really fish egg patterns, again, because, like the glow balls and yarnies and stuff down in the lower 48, the fish, they just inhale them, and it gets them down in the gills, and it kills them. So we fish beads up here primarily. And beads, we peg the bead, an inch and a half or so above the hook. And again, not only is a bead very effective, it looks way more real than a yarnie, but again, when they eat that bead and then you set the hook gets them on the outside of the mouth. So you're greatly reducing fish mortality, and it's also very effective. And when I first started, 13 years ago, we were going to, big box craft stores and buying beads, and then going next door into the nail polish store and buying nail polish to paint the beads. But now there's so many manufacturers out there that make really good beads. We don't have to paint beads as much as we once did.
What about the steelhead? What's that like? So you have to travel a little bit to get to the Kodiak to go for the steelhead?
Yeah, we fly from, it's super easy, man. You just hop on a plane from Anchorage to Kodiak, and an hour later you're there. Yeah. There's steelhead fishing in South Central as well, down on the southern part of the peninsula, but Kodiak has one of the largest runs of steelhead in the state. On a low year, 6,000 to 7,000 steelhead. On a high year, 10,000 to 12,000 steelhead.
Wow!
But the cool thing is the river's only 24 miles long, so you got 6,000 to 12,000 steelhead in the river, 24 miles long, with no road by it. It's insane. Like the numbers that I tell folks and tell friends and tell clients, just 25-year-old me wants to smack me. Because I started steelheading, in the lower Northwest, where like if you got one or two a day, you're a stud, man.
Right.
Badass. Like here, if you got one or two in a day, you're doing something wrong. I mean, just this last year, we had a day out there. 6 anglers. We hooked over 70 steelhead and landed. Oh God, how many? They're like 52 to hand. We've had a guy this year. He landed 20. Was it 26 or 27 in one day? Landed to hand. So yeah, the numbers here are just so high, and good, all wild fish. Nothing, no hatchery, no nothing, just pure wild Alaskan steelhead.
What's Kodiak like?
Oh, Kodiak's beautiful, man. It's we call it the Rock here in Alaska, because it's just. It's so jagged, man. It just shoots right up out of the ocean. You got these beautiful mountains. It's very rough and raw. And Kodiak, is one of my personal favorite places in the state, just because of how beautiful it is. I mean, you're looking right out to the ocean in parts, and beautiful, sharp, jagged mountains, and free of humanity, and lots of wildlife, lots of bears, lots of deer, lots of goat. It's a gorgeous place.
I've heard that aren't those bears like the biggest?
They are
brown bears on the planet or something.
Yep. Yeah. Kodiak brown bear, largest brown bear.
What's that like when you're fishing and one of those guys approaches you? You guys are armed, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We definitely carry firearms. And bears are to always be respected. But being up here as long, you do get used to them. And brown bears, for the most part, they don't want anything to do with us. They want to eat fish. Everyone up here in the lower 48 will kind of call brown bears grizzly bears, and grizzly bears brown bears, and I mean they're technically the same thing, but the biggest difference between a brown bear and a grizzly bear is a brown bear is located within 200 miles of a salmon stream, so therefore it tends to be much larger and way less aggressive because it has a continual, reliable food source.
Right.
Whereas if you get in interior Alaska and there's no salmon streams, the brown bears are then called grizzly bears. And they're smaller, much more aggressive. Like when I go hunting in the interior, I don't eat where I sleep, just because they are looking at you as a potential meal source. Whereas on the river, I mean, we leave food in the coolers, trash in the tents. They really don't want anything to do with us. I mean, they're to be respected, but they want to eat dead salmon, man. I mean, we'll be cooking cheeseburgers on the side of the river, and a 1,500-pound boar just comes walking up behind us, goes down, grabs a dead salmon, and keeps moving on.
Oh, what a trip, man! Do you guys have to, like, on some of your expedition trips that you guys do, like you do these float trips? It looks like. And you do like multi-day float trips, and then do you guys have to like put up one of those wires around your camp? For
we don't have to.
Okay.
No,
you got the dogs.
Well, we don't bring the dogs.
You don't. Okay.
On our multi-day trips. No, and the reason for that is we love our dogs, and if something were to happen, the dog trips over, and we wouldn't want to do that to our guests. So the dogs stay home on most of the multi-days. Every once in a while, we'll have some folks who are like, "I'm not going unless you bring the dog." But for the most part, the dogs stay home on the multi-day trips. But brown bears, as long as you're making your presence known, they generally don't want anything to do with us.
You've been to, what is it called, Kamchatka?
Yep.
Yeah, and the bear, isn't there like bear dogs that they have on those trips too that are just gnarly?
Oh, the Karelian bear dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the programs that I was on over there,
Yeah.
they would have the bear dogs there. But again, it's kind of same thing as
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Those bears really they just want to eat dead salmon, man.
Uh-huh. Wow. Is it Kamchatka compared to like Kodiak? Is it very similar, or is it more wild in Kamchatka, do you think?
No, Kamchatka is very similar
Kamchatka.
to Alaska. Yeah, I mean, basically what Alaska is to the U.S., Kamchatka is to Russia, but where we have Canada in between,
Right.
over there they have Siberia in between. So it's very similar, very mountainous region, very volcanic, just like Alaska. Kamchatka is cool. It does fish well, but honestly, I'm sure 20 years ago it was a different thing. But it's been a lot of years since I've been there, and obviously with the current political environment, there are no Americans going there anytime soon. But the fishing was good, but I definitely like at the end of my career in Kamchatka, there was a lot of poaching going on over there. The black market, caviar market is a very real thing over there because it is Russia. They are very depressed people. Communism does not work. I really saw that just coming back from Cuba. Communism definitely doesn't work. Yeah. And so these folks would string nets across the rivers to get the chum. So the chum make the best caviar eggs out there, but a net doesn't discriminate against what it kills, and there are lots of dead trout in these nets. Whereas here in Alaska, we tend to manage things a little bit better. We don't have a black market, caviar market, thank God. So I'd say that honestly, the trout fishing I think here now is better. 20 years ago, probably a different story, but the trout fishing here in Alaska is incredible.
So not only do you do the expedition trips, the steelhead, the heli fishing, what's ice fishing?
So ice fishing is what we do in the winter months. We tend to start ice fishing mid-November and run through about the end of March, and it's kind of what you see in Grumpy Old Men.
No way,
folks out. Yeah,
that must be fun.
It is fun, man.
Yeah.
It's not to me personally. It's not as fun as fly fishing, but
something
catching
to do,
fish
huh?
is catching fish, man. And we take folks out. We bring the shelter, heater, moose chili, help them drill the holes in the ice and catch fish, man. It's
what do you guys catching?
It's fun. Rainbow trout, Arctic char, juvenile salmon. Yeah, it just kind of depends on the location. Big lake trout, burbot. It just kind of depends on the location.
Wow. How long have you had this biz, the Fishhound expeditions now?
9 years.
Nice.
Started, 9 years. It's crazy how quick it flies by, but when you're having fun, it goes by quick, I guess.
So are you doing shows to advertise, or how do you get your clients?
We don't do shows. I thought about doing that years ago, but with how we've grown, I haven't found it necessary. In this digital age, word of mouth is still a very big thing. But when I went to college for outdoor recreation leadership, like all the stuff we learned to market a company, going to shows, having a trifold brochure and getting a sports writer to come out with you to promote. It was kind of the algorithm then for a successful outfitting business. But now in this digital age, everyone is a sports writer. And you have good guides and good gear and provide a good experience. And they go on and they leave you a good review. And people check you on the internet, and then they check reviews, and then they social media stalk you. That's one thing that I think has really helped us grow is myself and my guides, we love what we do. We're very lucky to be able to call Alaska home and ride in planes and helicopters and spend 70 to 90 days in these places where some folks get, one trip in a lifetime. And, we spend 70 to 90 days a year. We love what we do. Most of my staff are what I consider, like myself, lifers. And in guiding, it definitely kind of has most guides kind of have a short life before they get a quote unquote real job. But this is our real job. This is what we do, and we love it. And I think that really is what was helped us grow, is having good guides who are passionate about what we do and call Alaska home year round. How
do you work with your guides? Is it like I mean, how do you keep them going as far as like the work and stuff? I mean, it sounds like you have a lot of guides. 10 is, I mean, are all of you guys all doing 70 days during the season, or how's that working out?
Yeah. So my senior staff, they live in Alaska year round, and we start guiding early May. And I keep those boys pretty busy, and then we do get a couple guys up from the lower 48, and they come here in June. Mm-hmm. And then once June hits, it's 7 days a week through around September, and then again, my senior staff and I are the ones who do our Kodiak program. So it's as far as guiding goes, like compared to where I guided in the lower 48, like it's a long season for my senior staff. It's May through October, and it's 7 days a week for the most part.
Is that what you guys are doing, like that, like every day, just for that long, huh? That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
The guys that work for me, they'll be like, "Guy, we're getting crispy," meaning they're getting burnt out. You know, they need a couple of days off to go fishing.
Yes. No, we call August Angry August. That's when
that's funny.
You know, everyone's starting to get a little grimy. It rains a lot. And, I mean, when my guys, when they do, you know, they do occasionally get days off, but like my head guide, he's an animal. He just wants to work, you know, and a lot of my staff, and God bless them, they just travel all winter. I mean, a couple of my guides we're getting an operation going in Uttila, Honduras for bonefish and perms, and a couple of my guys are down there right now. One of my other boys is traveling across Southeast Asia, fell in love, met a girl. Another one was in Southeast Asia. So my staff, they work their ass off during the summertime, but then it affords them the ability to travel and enjoy life and not work in the wintertime.
Did you just say you got back from Cuba?
I did.
What was that like?
Incredible,
fishing?
Man. Oh yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. I got the saltwater bug a few years ago, and super into it for the longest. I mean, years ago, after guiding in Colorado, I had an opportunity to either go steelheading or go saltwater fly fishing, and I chose steelheading because I was like, saltwater fly fishing, like,
right.
That's just like fishing a big pond, you know, like you just cast in and strip it in. And man, I was so wrong. I went steelheading and suffered and learned how to spay cast, but very thankful for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, got the saltwater bug a few years ago and went to Cuba with one of my good buddies' clients, and it's incredible. We were there focusing on tarpon and hooked some big ones. Didn't land any of the big ones, but had my chances. But I mean, we're touching 5 to 10 tarpon a day and bonefish as well. It was an incredible experience. You know, that's honestly the thing with fly fishing, whether it's for trout or saltwater species. It's not just the fish, but the places it takes you.
Right.
Going and seeing Cuba and, you know, the plight of those people, but how good those people are, and going out fishing with them and talking with them and having those experiences was incredible. And also going to Havana and seeing that city, and going to the Floridita where Hemingway hung out. Oh, cool. It was a great experience. Yeah.
What is it like there in Cuba? Is it like a poor economy type of a thing? Is it bad?
Oh man, you know, it's just like with Russia, man. Like, communism doesn't work. It works for the few people in control, but the people suffer. And while we were there were some protests.
Really?
Because like, it was wild. Like, you go into some of the grocery stores and air quotes, and just empty shelves, empty shelves. And the people were protesting for food, and they just get thrown away in jail. And one thing that one of the guides, Arnold, said, you know, we're talking, and he's like, yeah, things are tough on your country right now. I'm like, yeah, they are. He's like, yeah, that sucks. He's like, but you're free. I am not free. And that just, you know, he's a fishing guide. I'm a fishing guide.
Yeah.
You know, like, I am free.
Yeah.
I can go and protest. I have a voice. You know, that's something, you know, we need to remember in this country, despite what's going on, is we do have a voice, and that's not the case everywhere else. And it is very apparent over there that they do not have a voice, and it's really sad, because they're good people. I mean, we were out and you know, sit in saltwater brakes, and the shear pin came off the prop. And so we're trying to fix it, and we got back, and they were able to fix it. And the next day we go out, and there's just this lobster fisherman, and we roll up to him and talking to him in Spanish. And next thing you know, like the captain and some of the crew of this beat up lobster boat, I can't believe it was still floating, but like 3 of these guys just hop off. They're pulling up, 5-gallon buckets of old nuts and bolts and parts, and there's 3 dudes on the back of this skiff fixing our skiff. And they got it fixed, and I was
No
like,
way.
oh, shit. I mean, like, what can I do? What do you guys want? Anything? They're like, yeah, can we have 5 beers? And so, of course, gave him 5 beers. And I looked, Arnold, my God, I was like, do you know these guys? He's like, no, never met them in my life.
Wow.
Just came up, and they're just there to help each other, help one another, because they know what they're dealing with as a country. And
Wow.
it is very apparent. It is very apparent.
When you like leave tips there, is there like, do they want you to leave tips, or is it kind of like
100%?
Oh, okay.
No, that's another thing that I learned that was very eye-opening.
Yeah.
Because tips in Alaska are a big thing. A fishing guide anywhere, it's a service industry. You get a tip based on your service, just like when you go to a restaurant, a bar, like tip your guide. But guides in America, we get a base pay, and I kind of assumed that in Cuba it would be the same. They do not get a base pay. They rely solely on tips.
Ah.
And I asked the guy, because the money that we pay goes to the government, and then the government there pays the people. And I asked Arnold, I was like, okay, so I know you don't get paid, but like it goes to the government, then you get paid. Like, what is it? He's like, it's enough to buy 7 pounds of rice. After 4 months of guiding, 7 days a week, they get paid enough to buy 7 pounds of rice.
Whoa.
So tips are huge. That's what they survive on.
Oh my gosh. And what about like in the hotels and stuff? I mean, what are the hotels like when you guys stayed in there? Were they pretty nice, or they?
They were. So Havana, I kind of noticed this too. And when I was in Kamchatka, like, tourism works. Tourism, no matter where in the world it is, it works. It brings people in, it brings money, it brings jobs, it brings motivation.
Yeah.
And in Havana, that you see it, like Anchorage is the hub for Alaska. You see it. There's tourism, there's bus drivers, there's cabs, there's bars, everything that goes with it. You see that in Havana, from a little bit of tourism that is there. So the hotels in Havana were beautiful. One that we stayed in was state owned, so obviously. But then the next one we stayed at was a great story of success. The gentleman had the first floor of this building. He rented it out as a little hotel, and then the second floor came up. So he bought that, renovated it, and then the third floor came up. So this guy built this beautiful hotel right on Old Havana, totally safe. Like, Havana itself is super safe. Like, I've traveled other places where you're like, all right,
sketchy.
let's keep it sharp here, boys. Did not feel that way in Havana. The people are just totally nice, helpful. Mm-hmm. It felt very safe in the hotel. And the food, man, the food and the people, incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Like what? What was it? Like, what was it kind of food?
Very, very Caribbean based, lots of pork.
Okay.
Lots of chicken, but just
killer sauces and stuff.
Really, really good. Lots of fish. Just
I love
really
that stuff
good.
Too,
Yeah.
That's
and
awesome.
once you get out of the States and the bread is made fresh and isn't fresh for 3 months, even the bread tastes better.
That's awesome, man. Hey, so if people want to find you, where would they go? Like on socials and your website and stuff like that. I'm going to put this in the description and all that too. But like, if people want to find you right now, where would they go?
Yeah. Fishhound Expeditions. You can find us online, fishhoundexpeditions.com, on social media, Fishhound Expeditions. We show up pretty quick.
Okay, cool. And then that's the same with like Instagram and all the other ones?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Dude, you got it going on, man. It sounds like you got a really great life, and You got a little daughter, it sounds like, as well, right?
Yep, 3.5-year-old daughter.
Oh, yeah, you guys are busy, man.
yeah, she's a lot of fun. She one of my buddies, it was funny, he was kind of giving me shit. He's like, man, your daughter. I was like, what? He's like, she's never going to know a life where she doesn't fish, hunt, or snowboard. I was like, yeah. You're damn right. She's been out hunting at a year, been snowboarding since she was 15 months. She's been out so many jet boats, planes, helicopters. Yeah, she always, it just makes my heart melt. She's like, Dad, I'll work on the river. I was like, yep, Dada's got to go work on the river. All their work on the river with Dada. She wants to be a fishing guide and helicopter pilot, and a doctor.
Very cool. That's awesome. Yeah, my daughter, grew up in the fly shop as well, and she, we were out fishing one day, and some dude walked up and started fishing with a spinning rod, and she's like, "What is that, Dad?" That's awesome, that's a spinning rod. She's like, "Oh," and she's like, "How come he has fish on a rope?" And I'm like, "Well, he's gonna take them home and eat them, And she's like, "Oh, I didn't know that. That's wild,
Yeah,
so it's pretty cool.
For you, man.
Yeah, it's really cool. I'm fishing with her as well, and my teenage daughter, the 16-year-old isn't quite back into fishing yet, but my older one, who's like 20, she's kind of come back to it. They kind of leave it and come back. So just fair warning on that.
Yep.
The days of them running down the driveway, "Daddy, Daddy," are gone. That's for sure. Well, hey, man, Adam, thanks so much, man, for taking the time to be on my podcast and share your whole world. I really learned a lot, and maybe we'll come up and go fishing with you someday, man.
Yeah, man. If you've never been, you should definitely check it out. It is an incredible place.
Absolutely, man. Well, thanks again, bud, and we'll get as many people up there to see you as possible.
Appreciate it, man.
All right, take care, man.
All right.
Bye-bye.
It's a Guy Jeans podcast.